Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to do another video review for you. The game that I am going to review for you today is a game called Space Movers. Space Movers is a cooperative game, and it is an adventure. And it is so rare for me to actually refer to a game as an adventure game. The thing is that, like, not so much like fantasy or anything, any genre like that, you know, science fiction or whatever, because this is definitely a science fiction game, obviously, as you can probably guess from the cover. But, like, to capture the adventure feel of a game is something that is really rare with board games, just because they're kind of bogged down with mechanisms and rules and whatever, and so like the free flow of like kind of like just like a fantasy or space opera, if you will, is tough to claim. And so when the designers contacted me about this game and asked me if I'd be willing to do this review, one of the things that sold me on it was they said it's an adventure game, you know, and I was like, well, you know what, I'll give it a shot and I'll see what I think. And I will fully admit there was a healthy bit of skepticism on my part, as far as whether or not it would actually capture that adventure feel. And I will be completely honest with you, the designers, this is obviously a work of passion for them. They have gone to great lengths to make the game into an immersive adventure feel of a board game. There is wonderful art that you're going to see here in just a little bit. The game itself comes with a comic book that they suggest that you read prior. It gives like a background story of all the different characters that you'll be playing in the game and how they know each other and why they are doing what they're doing, which is excellent, mind you. Once again, with the excellent art that you're going to see, the person who did the art for the comic book also did the art for the game itself as well. And there's even a soundtrack that you can download and you can play while you're playing the game. And I'm not going to play that for you, but I've listened to it and it actually fits very well. You know, and there's things like that. But I'm not going to gamble or guess as far as where the designers of the game got their inspiration for this. I can definitely see hints of different movies and different TV shows and books that I've read and comics that I've read and things like that. And plus, obviously, there's other board games that like some of the like mechanisms of the game and also just the flow of the game it reminds me of. So I'm not going to really go down that path. I'm not going to take a stab at what the designers are trying to do. But what the designers, I do think in a very general term, the designers were trying to, as I said, make an adventure game. And they did very much succeed. And they also made a very challenging and very difficult cooperative game as well that my friends and my gaming group have enjoyed a great deal. So what I'm going to do, well, just quickly overview of the game, is that you are what's called a space mover. And that's a nice way to say smuggler or somebody that works on the fringe of the law. And there is within the galaxy a universal oversight group, which is kind of this like very draconian group of people that kind of just monitors everything that goes on within this planetary system. And as with any thing that's in power, it seems to be in these types of movies or TVs or games or what have you, the imperial power, if you will, was put in place with the best of intentions, but as time grew, it became kind of polluted and toxic and poison from within, and now it is kind of an evil organization that isn't really doing its job anymore. All it is interested in keeping itself in place, in power, and controlling everything. And so the way that the game progresses, I'm not going to give you any spoilers because there's definitely a storyline that you play, and then it leaves it open-ended. So I can only assume that the designers are going to have expansions that are going to extend this story, this adventure that you're going to be able to go on, which is one of the things I think is really cool about this game. But you are going to travel from planet to planet. You are always losing resources. Basically, that you're running out of food. You know, it's just a resource. It doesn't like specific ones, but basically every time you take a turn, you're losing resources because your ship is traveling, and so you need to collect these cargoes and deliver them. But at the same time, there's this omnipresent scout ship of this this Imperial group that is hunting you down and is slowly but surely catching up with you. And so you have to measure your actions each turn. Am I going to try to are we running out of resources? Do I need to try to get us to some place so we can deliver another, do a job and deliver an item so then we can replenish ourselves? But then we have to worry about this evil scout ship that's looking for us, and also there's all these it isn't really pollution per se, but as you are found and located and suspicion is drawn, there's this ever-growing watch of looking for you, and if you get too much of these tokens on the board, you'll lose the game outright. If you run out of resources, you lose the game outright. There's all these ways you can, and there's certain events and objectives that if you don't do them correctly, you lose. And, the only way you can succeed is if you actually can complete these 5 objectives in a row. And in the meantime, you're completing an objective, and then you're just kind of trying to stay afloat, so to speak, until you can get to the next objective, and then you're kind of, so the best way to describe it is when you play the game, and there's wonderful tension of the game, and I'm kind of giving away a lot of my conclusion here, but I'll go more into that when I do that. But is that you kind of start off, oh, we're doing great, and then you kind of okay, we're still doing pretty good here, and we've got an objective done, and then you get down to here, and it's okay, got second objective, we're getting worried, and you get to the third or the fourth, and you're just barely hanging on at the end, and you're just race against time, and all these bad things are happening to you, and you've got to get to that last objective, complete it successfully, and so it's that. Like I said, it's a game that tells a story. It's a game that you have a lot of fun with each and every turn, and it's just it builds on itself, and it builds, like I said, that wonderful feeling of tension. Plus, there is a super cool dice rolling mechanism that harkens back to my good friend Mike, which I will talk about when I do. I'll explain that when I do my conclusion, why it reminds me of my good buddy. So, all right. So enough jibber jabber. Let me show you really quickly, or relatively quickly, how to play Space Movers. All right. This is the game board for Space Movers, and I'm just going to give you a quick little overview of everything before I actually step in and show you some of the mechanisms of how you play the game. Obviously, you can see that these are the different planets. Your spaceship, which admittedly, this is a prototype, and though it is a very high-level prototype, I don't have the little spaceship icon here, I just have this little disc, and I don't have the character stance, the art. I have meeples for their colors and things like that. But so just bear with that as far as the prototype is concerned. So this is Earth, obviously, and then there's these other planets that you'll be traveling to. You can see that there's these lines that are obviously how you get from planet to planet. You can't just go off the path or whatever. You have to follow those lines. Pretty straightforward. Some of the lines you'll see are a different color, and they'll have a little an icon on them, here and here, and that denotes that to use those particular routes, you actually have to do a skill check to successfully do that, and I'll explain skill checks later. There's two little sections here that will track 2 different things. This tracks resources. You notice it's pretty faint, but you can actually set the game up. If you want a tougher experience, you can actually set your starting resources lower. I don't suggest doing that. The game is pretty tough as is. After each person's turn, the the resources go down 1. The only way to increase your resources really is to complete missions that are of bringing cargo. You pick up cargo, say, on Helena, and you deliver it to Tau Ceti, and the game will tell you how many resources you get for that process. This over here marks how much the evil UO, the Oversight Committee, which is kind of silly when you think about it, but it's kind of funny actually, is how seriously they're looking for you. In this big giant deck of cards, there are oversight cards. When you draw them, depending on where you are located with your ship, you will place one of these tokens on the spot when you draw that, and then you will increase this particular track. If it ever reaches the top, you lose the game, and for that matter, if resources ever reach the bottom, you lose the game as well. You'll notice that it's red in this section and normal here. When it's red, if you are on a planet that has one of these little eye tokens, what that basically means is they're looking for you. And so whenever you do a skill check on there, you have a negative for the token that's on there. You normally on a skill check, when you roll a die, a 5 or better will increase, but you actually lower that by 1, or just lower 1 from the roll. So if you on here, you'd -1 for your roll. So if you rolled a 5, you'd actually fail, because it would be a 4 technically. So there you go, as far as that is concerned. Taking on this, there's all kinds of, basically when you take a turn, what you do is you draw one of these cards. Depending on the card, you will either it'll be an event, which you'll play. You'll have an event that basically the events affect the game in some way, and they exist until you actually take care of the event, or it is a cargo card, meaning it's like a job that you can do. Might be a reaction card, which is something you can play on somebody else's turn. That's the only time you really can do anything in somebody else's turn that isn't like when you're helping out with an action. Once again, I'll explain helping out with a skill test, which is something I'm going to explain in just a little bit. But you take an action after you draw your card. You take an action, well, if you wish, and when you take an action, well, you can do it in the space that you're on, as far as on your ship here, the Liberty. There's all these different things, and when you can move. Obviously, you can move from the different spots or whatever. These are the opening spots that your players are at. You also get to move the ship as well. So, like, you get to do 2 moves basically. You can say, okay, well, the ship's going to move to Helena, and I'm going to move my guy over here. And so you go through that process, and then you take your action. Sometimes the action is just like to get rid of an event or to get rid of the pursuit card. Sometimes the action will be these objectives, because this is the objective deck, and I'm not going to show you all of those, just basically because it does tell a story and I don't want to give any spoilers or whatever. But when the first objective tells you what to do, it's like you get to flip this card over once the first cargo has been delivered. So as soon as you get your first cargo mission, and then you can go ahead and deliver it, and then you get to flip that card over. Then it'll tell you what to do. Usually, well, I'm not giving really anything away. I'll show you the one card here real quick here. What it does is it then it tells a little story, and then it gives you a there's an action that you can do. When Liberty is on Earth, you may attempt the skill check below. Successful, move this card to the bottom of the deck, and then reveal objective card 2. And so, you have to pass that skill check to do it. So it tells you where to go and what you have to do when you get there. So, on the Liberty itself, there's different things like the bridge. You can jump Liberty from its current location to an adjacent. So, once you move, you can do an action to move again. At the cargo bay, you can search the deck for a cargo card and just grab that. Then you shuffle the deck back up. In the kitchen, you can choose another player to perform an action of your choice immediately. Sometimes, like if you wanted, because this is the navigator can really do that really well. So, if you wanted them to be able to do that, so you can get move or whatever into Capri or something like that. Engine room, you may perform 2 card actions this turn if your character is located there. Down here, this is the drone room. You can launch a drone to a planet, a board space up to 2 away from Liberty. The delivery drone may deliver cargo, so you can actually then deliver it from a distance away. Also, you can ignore, you also ignore route restrictions with that, which is actually really helpful. And then also, as an action, you can retrieve a drone from a planet board space up to 2 away from Liberty. The medical bay, attempt to heal or repair any injured character. There's a robot, so you repair that. When you get hurt, you are unable to actually do anything, so getting healed is pretty important. So having somebody heal you is very important. And the communications is probably one of the most important parts. Is like you lose 4 resources. You're like, I lose 4 resources. That's pretty bad. But that allows you to actually remove one of these tokens that happens to be on the board. And that's the only way you can get rid of those, is by going to the communications and taking that action. Which obviously is a very traumatic thing if you're going to do that. So on a person's turn, well, first of all, let me just show you really quick. Each person will get a character. You just roll randomly, and these are all super cool art. And each person, has like special abilities. Like here's Red. And Red is add 1 to the die result of skill checks for one other character located in the same Liberty board space as you. That's just her any turn. That's her ability. Then on your turn, lose 3 resources instead of 4 when activating the communications phase. And then the roll skills means that these are like universal. This is strength, and that's intelligence. Everybody has those. But then the roll skills is that she will be using a red die, so if there's ever any action that requires that red die, she's the one that has to do that. Now, if you don't have enough people to play all the characters, the other characters are still there. They just don't get to take actions. But you still have those abilities to use them, and you can roll the die for them. So on your turn, what you do is you draw a card, and so this is like a cargo card. And it says pick a cargo. When Liberty is on Mars, you may play this card to the table in front of you. When Liberty is on Capri, discard this card and gain 4 resources. So the interesting thing is, the first thing you do is you take one of these cubes and you put it over there on Mars. That's the first thing you do. And then you put this card in front of you. And now, nobody else can see that card, but you can tell people what it is, which I don't understand why you can't show it to anybody. That doesn't really make much sense to me. But you're supposed to keep it secret, and so you keep it secret, and you can say, well, if we can get to Mars, then I can pick up that cargo. Now, if you get to Mars with the cargo card, then you get to take this and you get to put the cargo on top of the card like so, and then now you can say, well, now it's like we need to get to Capri, and then we can get some resources, and so then you can make your way to Capri and try to deliver that. And when you do, then you just turn the card in, and you turn the cargo in, and you gain the resources. The other kind of cards that you have in the deck, let me just show you, like events. Now, events kind of stink because there's never really anything good about it. So it's like bad reputation. Subtract 1 from all cargo resource payouts while this card is on the board. Now, attempt the skill check below if successful, discard the card. So you can just go ahead and you put this on the event spot right there. Now, if you haven't successfully gotten through that skill check, and you get another event card to pop up, like so. It's like, see event, supplies travel to Muse, immediately to the game board, pick up supplies that were dumped by other movers. When on Muse, attempt the skill check below to receive 7 resources, which helps discard this card. Well, that's actually one of the very few that are actually kind of good. But the one bad thing is if you haven't got rid of that, you go ahead and you discard this, but it's removed from the game. Like, you just kind of put it off to the side. And because you didn't take care of the event, you automatically, at that point, instead of because of the fact you didn't go through the process, you're going to lose resources. And depending on the number of these cards that you didn't defeat. So if there was more cards there, you'd lose more. You'd lose 1 per card. So you can see then, if you don't take care of the events quickly and you let them stack up, so let's say there was 3-4 events over here that weren't taken care of, and you drew another event like that, you would lose a ton of resources. And we've actually lost a game that way because of the fact that we were down low on resources and we had three cards over there, and then unfortunately we drew another event and we immediately lost that many resources, and we just lost the game because we weren't able to take care of that. And that's something and like I said, this one is actually not a bad one, but it just seems to me that the event cards are more often bad than good as far as I'm concerned. Now, reaction cards, as I said, these are the only things you can do when it isn't your turn. Jump Liberty to any planet board space that does not have a UOI marker on it. So like, this is one of those things where, and this is like a card, like the cargo cards you actually keep. You can't show it to anybody. I don't know why you can't, but you can tell, you can read it aloud. You can tell people exactly what it is, and you can say, look, on your turn, we can do that. And that's how one of those great things about the game is that like everybody's working together to pull that off and to go ahead and get that taken care of. Now, some cards will be this, and this is the big one that I want to show you, the UO Pursuit cards. Now, when the first time you pull one of these over, you take that big green disc, or in the game, like it'll be like actual like standee that'll be of the ship, and you put that on there, and wherever, as I said, so like let's just say we're over here on Abram, wherever you are, you go ahead and place one of those markers, and you move the thing like that, and so you're climbing up as far as, and I should say when you actually do remove these, if you do reduce that down. That's the only way you can get that down. So you put this in the section over there, and you can say attempt the skill check below. If successful, you discard this card and remove the U scout chip. So you can see, so you'll roll a black die, a white die, and then you have both a strength and an intelligence check. Those can be done by anybody. So you place that over there in the pursuit section, like so. Now, once you have the UO ship on the board, on your turn, one of the last things you do is you have to move this inexorably towards your ship, step by step. And as you move closer and closer, if it does ever catch up to the Liberty, one of your characters will have to might quite possibly be taken for interrogation back to the UO headquarters. And so on each one of these character cards, you actually see like it says like character number 3 there, and like character number 2. You roll a die, and because of the fact that there are 7 of them, you will roll a die, and if you roll an 8, 9, or a 0, you actually get lucky, and they like false alarm, we're not going to take any of these. You roll a die, and so 0, that would actually work out in your favor. But if you roll like a 5, you go through the cards, you figure out, and so in this case, Boom will be the one taken, and Boom is purple, so then he would go, and he would be in the interrogation room. Now, when that happens, if they're interrogation, you can't use the purple die. So if you have a skill check that needs the purple die to be rolled, you can't do that anymore. And on Boom's turn, if it's actually a player, not just an NPC, you can't do any of the actions. All you get to do is draw a card and then do the cleanup, which is, moving the ship, if the ship's on the board, closer, and so on and so forth. You don't get to move Liberty, you don't get to try to do any actions or anything like that. The other thing, as far as with those UO cards are, if you draw another one, and there's one still out there that hasn't been taken care of, you will replace it, and the ship, you add another token wherever, like so if you were here, you'd add another token, like so, and then move that up another thing. And it would actually get to move twice. So if it was like here, it's one of those things where it's like 1, 2, it would actually catch up to you immediately. So you get to, so it would actually, because it would move once, and it would move again. So it's one of those things where you need to like be careful, to that you get this taken care of as quickly as possible, because if you don't, and you draw another one of those cards, it can really unhinge your plans, pretty quickly. And and having people in interrogation doesn't mean they're gone forever. You can pilot your ship and get it over here, And the one nice thing is that after it does catch up with you, it does vanish. It goes away, you know. So it isn't like it's just there, sitting there, and keeps hammering on you. But it does go away. But to get them out of interrogation, you have to go here, fight your way to get there, because there's a strength check to get there. And then you have to take an action to release all the captives in interrogation and place them on the Liberty board with a successful skill check. And the skill check is both intelligence and a strength check. So, now, I have told you this. I've been telling you for a while that I'm going to show you skill checks, and I am going to show you skill checks right now. That's like the one mechanism that I really like about the game. I mean, everything else, like I've kind of seen in other co-op games, and this does all those co-op games justice, and all the other ones that are really awesome. But it is a dice game. I love dice games, and so whenever you have to do a skill check, you take the board like this, and you're going to. There's a stand that you use, like so. Now, you have that set up, and you're going to roll dice, and you get to actually put it. And once it's set up, you can't move it anymore. So let's say we were trying to defeat this particular UO Pursuit card. And so you can see it's a blue die, white die, and a strength and an intelligence. You know, this is any color, so anybody can do that. And so you nominate, so both blue and white have to go. And then 2 other people have to go. So let's just take those 2. Well, Boomer's in jail, so we can't take him. So we'll go ahead. And you also have this blank die. You're like, why do I have a blank die? That's the last die you're going to roll. And why, you might ask? Well, because what happens here is that people have to, everybody gets to roll, whoever's rolling has their own special die. If it's a die that is for an NPC, it'll be rolled by whoever's the current player. And you roll the dice one by one. And remember, your target is a 5. And so you begin the roll, and so like, say blue go first. You roll, it's a 2. Well, that's no good. It's not going to fail. But you might think, oh, we're gonna lose right now. No, not necessarily, because now what happens is the next players can roll the die, but also try to hit the die to try to change its roll. So let's see here. Well, that didn't work real well at all. So now we're kind of in trouble because we have both a 4 and a 2, and we don't have any good rolls. So let's see if we can get. Well, a 4, 3, 4. This is horrible. I'm doing very poorly here. So, well, I got 1 success. Now the last thing you do is you have this blank die, and the blank die is rolled by the current player as well, and they can use this to try to hit things as well. So we knocked him around a little bit. And actually, I got 2 successes out of the deal like that with the 9 and the 8. But unfortunately, the 2 and the 4 are still failures. And so we do not pass the skill test. Now, this is just as much fun as you think it is. Because it isn't just me rolling it. It's the other people as well. So when you roll it, what's going to happen is that everybody's going to say, okay. Because when it's in the corner, it's tough to actually hit them and knock them around. So you kind of think, well, I got to leave them in the middle. But if you leave them in the middle, then it is very easy for them to get hit by the other dice. So, like, let's say you roll this red one first. Okay, a 6. Great. Okay, it's successful. So then the white die will go a 6. And remember, oh, God, I almost touched it. And then you're like, okay, that's good. That's good. Now roll this one. A 10. Oh, that's perfect. So if this stays at 10, I moved it. I apologize. If that stays 10, that's something very important I need to explain. So that's the last one. So a 1. So now you have that one and this one. It's almost impossible, you know, to defeat it. So I almost did. I could have almost ricocheted around. So this would also be a failure, even though I had a 6, 6, 6. But there's this 0 there. The 0 is important. Why? Because whenever you roll a 0, it means that the person that rolled that is injured. And so you can see here's good old Gurn. You flip him over, and he's injured. And so you can't, when you're injured, you don't get to move around, and the only action you can take is you can attempt the skill check to heal yourself, and that's the only thing you can do. Other people can go to the med bay, obviously, and take the action to try to heal you as well. But it obviously, when you get hurt, if you're unlucky enough to get a 0, and trust me, it's so funny when like my buddy Craig rolls a 0. It's great. But anyway, so you unfortunately, like, really hinder the party, because that's like a person that you're using up an action to try to get them healthy, and they can't do anything if it gets their turn, and so it's like, but like you notice like the medical droid add 2 to your die result when attempting to heal an injured character, because that's like their specialty, things like that. So there you go. That is the skill check mechanism, and I really like that. And before I go and tell you more about my conclusion as far as what is concerned, I want to show you the other side. That's like the standard basic version. Now this is the more difficult version. You can see that there's these locations. Now, if a die on this side, if you roll a die and it lands on, of course I'm not going to roll one. Like you can actually kind of shoot for, I'm not going to hit it, but here. Well, fine. Let's say I rolled that. That white die lands on that green check mark. No matter what the die roll is, even if it's that 0, that's considered a success. Comparatively, if you rolled like a 9 and it was on that red X, or any part of it is touching that red X, that is a fail. So, and this is like the more difficult side of the skill check board, but you know, so you just and I like playing with this side. Anything to kind of like make it more chaotic and random. I enjoy that in my cooperative games. One of my biggest pet peeves in cooperative games is that if they're too deterministic, and I like it when there's some luck and some chaos, and like I always want to feel like if I can just get one good lucky die roll, I'll be able to win the game, and this is why I like that. But all right, so let me tell you exactly why I dig this game so much in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. Alright, cool. So that's how you play Space Movers. I hope you dug it, and I hope you dug the art, and I really hope you dug the whole rolling the dice in the box thing. Now, I mentioned in my introduction, I mentioned my good friend Mike, and I say this not for sympathy or pity or anything like that, because it happened a long time ago. But my good friend, and I've mentioned him in blogs, or my good friend Mike, who my son, his middle name is Michael, named after him. My good friend Mike died when he was 18. He died of cancer, and he was a complete and total gamer. He loved all kinds of games, and I played all kinds of games with him, and he and I enjoyed that, and he was my best friend. I met him when I was 5, and we goofed around and had a great time, and I miss him dearly. I think about him all the time, but one of the things that I always thought was hilarious with him, and he got really good at this. We used to play Marvel Superheroes all the time, the role-playing game. And Marvel Superheroes was a percentile-based game. You rolled your percentile dice, and so you'd have your one die that was like the red die, which was the tens die, and then there was the other die that was the other one. And he would roll the tens die first, and you'd see, and it wouldn't be high enough for you need to get at least an 80 or higher, and he'd roll it, and it would be like a 6, and then he'd aim the other die at the other one, trying to knock it down. And he got so good at it, he would roll the one, and he'd see what landed, and he could like drop the other one on it. And it was, if you weren't watching him, you'd actually see him do it. And yeah, okay, it was cheating, and at the time it probably infuriated me, but now it's like one of those cool treasured memories that I have of my buddy. And I like I said, I miss him dearly for so many reasons, and that's one of them. So, but regardless, so like, they do that in this game. How cool is that? I mean, it's just like the whole thing is like, okay, roll the die. It's like, dang it, you roll the die, and dang it, roll the die, and then you get that last 6-sided die with the blank sides, and you roll it. I just thought that was so neat that they kind of did that and went that route with the game. And plus the fact that you have to place it on the stand and place it somewhere on the board, and so like it isn't, you know, and if the die falls out, you fail, and if you roll a 0, you know, you get hurt from doing the action, and so like, I mean, there's just so much. It's just such a cool thing. It's just such a cool, like, wonderful, chaotic, you know, random thing that's part of the game, and I give them the greatest kudos in the world for incorporating that into the game. So regardless, beyond that, okay, it's a co-op game. And I'm not gonna. I really went over the game pretty well and all the things I like about it in my introduction. It tells me a story. It is a cooperative game that steadily builds the tension to a wonderful at a wonderful pace, and like you always feel like especially it's like it's easy, but then you're slowly like you're pedaling, and the hill just gets steeper and steeper and steeper, and that's what I like about co-op games, and it passes the Undead Viking test for a co-op game, and my first test is it better kick my butt the first time I play it, and this game totally kicked my butt the first time I played it. When you go into a game completely blind, you have no idea what you're doing, the game should be brutal, and it should take no prisoners, and it should destroy you. I don't think I got 2 objectives done the first time that we played the game. Secondly, each player should feel like they're contributing something, and they're contributing something special, and that they're doing something special. And by giving those different players and the different player powers and what they're good and bad at and whatever, they've done that. And a lot of times people say, oh, you got to make sure you don't have that one person telling everybody else what to do. That's always, in my opinion, been my feeling of a poor gaming group than it is so much a game. But the game can lend itself to that too. But this game doesn't do that. Everybody feels like they have something to contribute, and in singularly, not that like, oh, I can do that as well kind of thing. They can actually have a role, and they feel like they're being a prominent part of that particular of the game, and their role matters. And the last one is that I think that after you've played the game, and after you've like grown accustomed to it, and you even know what you need to do, I should only win about 25 to maybe 35% of the time. And the reason why I say that is because when I play a 4-player game, and if everybody at the table is the same ability, and it's a competitive game, I should theoretically win 1 out of 4 times. Not me, I win like 1 out of 8. But theoretically, I should win 1 out of 4 times. And that should carry over to a co-op game. And that's my belief as far as that's concerned. So, I mean, there's tons of other reasons why I dig the game. I dig the art, I dig the theme, I dig the story, I dig the fact that after I get done playing it, we talk about certain roles and certain actions and what have you. Players in my playing group start acting out what they're doing as they're playing. You have that full immersion into what you're doing. For all of those reasons, it creates a wonderful atmosphere. It creates a wonderful gaming experience, and that's ultimately what you're trying to do here, right? I mean, you could play the game solo, I suppose, but I don't think this game should be played solo. I think this game should be played with a really good group of friends, and sitting down and just having at it, and which is why I like I like co-op games, and I like competitive games. But when I play a co-op game, I want to get done, and I want to not care one bit whether I won or lost. I want to be able to look back and say, that was fun, regardless of the outcome. So, there you go. And that's what Space Movers does for me. So, I think this game is awesome. I think it's going to be a hit. I think if you like co-op games, I think you should get it. If you like co-op games in a sci-fi setting, I think it's a must-buy. If you don't believe me, go ahead, check the game out over at their Kickstarter page. Decide whether or not you think it's right for you. And yeah, there you go. So if you have any questions about the game, please post those. I'll be happy to tell you what I think, or give you my opinion, or answer those to the best of my ability. As always, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm Undead Viking. This is my gaming dojo, and I greatly appreciate you and for your patronage. All right, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.